Hello everyone. On 3 December 2021, FBF hosted its fourth Women in Finance event and fourth FBF Discuss debate. The audience got polled during the event, while the discussant had to debate against or in favor of a motion. The debate revolved around the motion there should be gender quotas on boards. The motion's proponent was Sylvie Goulard, who is deputy governor at the Banque of France, and spoke in the debate in her personal capacity. Our motion's opponent was Renée Adams, who is professor of finance at Saïd Business School at University of Oxford. The debate was chaired and moderated by Elena Carletti, who is professor of finance at Bocconi University. Our audience was composed of 3/4 of female professionals with an average of 10 years of professional experience. 35% of our participants are working as policymakers and 27% as academics, with 1/4 of the audience working in EU institutions, bodies or agencies. Almost half of our audience had a background in economics and 30% had one in law. So our debate opened with the motion being submitted to our audience with 87% stating to be favorable to the installment of gender quotas on boards. In the second poll, we asked our participants if a difference when discussing gender quotas should be made for government and private boards, and 82% of our audience thought that none should be made. Let's now watch some highlights of our speakers' opening statements.
I really believe that this house believes, I think it's the way I have to present it, that there should be a gender quota on boards for many reasons. First of all, gender balance is a matter of rule of law and fairness, as equality is enshrined in all our constitutions and law. But it is also about a better use of talents. And there are studies in Norway, for example, on the law they have adopted. It was quite old already, 2006, on the company's board quota, and they showed that it does not lead to less profitable business. On the contrary, even if the first reaction of the male-only stock market may be negative at the beginning, women brought changes in how companies are managed. Some people believe quota are not something acceptable in terms of fairness, but it's exactly the other way around. It's fair because it creates a threat to cozy arrangements between men. Quotas are efficient. One of the lies about it is that, oh, you know what, women don't like quotas. But of course, quotas are not sufficient. We need also policies on wages, on education. We need to make sure that women or young girls are choosing math and all the careers.
So my answer to the question is no, for 4 main reasons. So first, I believe gender quotas are often proposed to solve problems they cannot possibly solve, such as low shareholder value. Second, gender quotas are often justified on the basis of flawed research and stereotypes about women and men. Third, I believe gender quotas are examples of lazy policymaking. Politicians pass them to avoid having to tackle the actual problems that lead to women's underrepresentation in leadership. And fourth, gender quotas place the burden of solving women's problems on the shoulders of women and specific types of organizations, for example, listed firms, instead of allocating the responsibility across society. I believe their design reinforces stereotypes about women and men, and they divert attention away from the real problems that women face.
The problem with what we just heard, Renée, is that you don't propose anything concrete. Yeah. I'm not saying that quotas are perfect, but when you say, for example, that taxpayers don't have to pay for quotas, but why should they pay right now for unfairness and unequal access to some positions, above all in the public services? And I would quite say, okay, it brings money to the company or it does not. And so what? As you said, I mean, there are 2 levels. One is the level of the rule of law and the principles, and on that we should continue fighting. I don't agree with you that the studies saying that diversity is bringing something positive are irrelevant, because we all make the experience, and there are many of them. So I don't want to argue too long.
So obviously we disagree, right? And on many dimensions. But on one thing, I believe we both can agree that fairness is important. Okay, now the motion was not how do we reach gender equality. The motion was should there be gender quotas on boards? And I don't believe that gender quotas on boards achieve fairness of the type that is necessary for women to have equal rights as men. You know, as an economist, I believe very strongly in the importance of policy evaluation, right? So you implement policies and one should be able to assess whether the policies are effective. So if you use business case arguments or economic arguments to motivate implementing policies that will lead to more fairness for women, then you have to accept that at some point the evidence may go against the economic motivation.
After having watched the rebuttals, let's now examine the results of our last two polls. The third poll asked our audience their opinion on the quotas alternatives to increase gender diversity on boards. A third of our participants believe that a more general effort to develop the careers of women in the private and public sector can be done, and 30% would suggest for companies to publish gender diversity commitments, including on boards. And finally, the audience was asked again, at the end of the debate, their opinion on the motion. Our respondents remained largely in favor of the installment of gender quotas on boards, even if the no won a few points from the opening poll. Now, let's have a look at the final comments of our speakers, and let me thank you for your interest in our activities. We are looking forward to welcome you in our next FPF Discuss or Women in Finance event.
You know, I'm a fundamental believer in fairness, right? And for me, the question is, how do we get there? And also, I believe very strongly that we should have more discussions about how do we get there, instead of just saying, well, let's just have a quota that'll solve all problems. I don't think that that's true.
No, Renée, it's good that you conclude this way, because I think that no one ever proposed in this discussion just to have quotas and that's it. No one is on this line, and at least it's not my position. And I fully agree with you that what matters is fairness. And for this reason, we should make the difference between the principle and the procedure or the ways to get to our common objective. And fairness should remain the objective.